All right, yay, we won. Bear down, Chicago Bears. Yay, we beat the Vikings. All right, so the season is over. Let's go ahead and put this in the review. But before we do that, I just want to give a piece of advice for all my Bears fans. If you listen to me, other people, however you continue to be a fan, even in real life, quality and performance is about consistency. That's a piece of advice. It's about consistency. It goes back to the good old scientific method. If you try something once, you don't say, well, that must be what it is. That's the facts. No, you try it over and over again to make sure that it's consistent and that it's actually true. So when we start talking about players, I just listen to some of the conversations, even from the media, and it's just like, whoa, how did he do that? How did he make that pass? He's a bust. He can't do that because he's a bust. Or someone that's really, whoa, how did he have a bad play? But he's like the greatest. It's about consistency. And all this labeling people early, all this using small examples to prove that they're a good player. Yes, a bust can make good plays. Yes, they can have a good game. They might even have a good season depending on the situation. It's about consistency, proven over time against different people. As I've said many times before, as I get ready to go into draft season, it's about showing how many times you could replicate that. That's how you know quality and performance. It's not just, he sucks, he's good. You got to get out at 0 to 100. If you want to be a better Bear fan, some people don't, then you got to get off that surface level. You got to go deeper. It's not just about, labeled bust. Wait, how did he end up making a good play? I don't understand how he made that throw. Or saying, did you see that throw? Do you think a bust could make that throw? Yes, they can. And that's why I got off the whole bust thing, and I'll get into that in off season. But bust going forward for me is about the GM. It's not about the player. All this talk about where they were drafted and all, they didn't ask for that. They didn't draft themselves. It's about the GM. And so all these expectations, he sucks and he was a second round pick, or he can't do this, he was this pick. It's about the GM. It's not about the player. The player is what they are when you drafted them. So anyway, all that being said, there's not much to say about this game in general. I think it is what it's been. The same things we talked about all year, except we're going against backups. Now, it's the end of the season. I'm not going to harp on some of the same things. You saw it. You saw us going against a backup D-line and getting wrecked. You saw us going against a backup offensive unit and having a running back rip off almost 200 yards against us. It is what it is, and it is what it's been all season. So let's do this. I usually do the awards and crap and all that. So let's talk about the offense overall for the season. As far as a grade, what would I give our offense? I would give our offense a D. And that might be being generous, but I'm going to give us a D for the year. We all know the woes that we had, and we'll get into this a little later, but I've talked about it. It's everybody. It's not just, it's because of this. No, it's everybody. And it's bad from every angle you could look at it. From the ability to sustain drives, from the ability to put up points, from the ability to put up points early, field position, all those things, turnovers. I'll say this. We weren't horrible with turnovers. That would have probably really put us at an F if we just kept giving the ball away. So I will say that. But I got to give us a D. As far as offensive MVP, I got to give it to Allen Robinson. He was put in some tough situations by the team. Now, as I mentioned, I was talking about this earlier. Not a great block. Doesn't try to block at all. None of them try to block, to be honest, at receiver. And it's funny to see us doing all these bubble screens, and we don't have any receivers interested in blocking. But that is what it is. 50-50 guy, really good routes, a lot better route runner than I've seen him in his career, and he looked good. I think he could have looked even better if he wasn't just running curls all day, but it is what it is, and so that's what we got. Yeah, so I'll leave it at that. Defensively, I'll try to say defensive wise. Um, for the overall grade for the season, I would give us a B minus. I think a solid B minus. We definitely weren't taking the ball away a lot, and I mean takeaways, not giveaways when it just goes to us. I mean, we weren't forcing turnovers. Somehow a pass rush was even worse than last year, and I thought our pass rush was pretty piss poor last year outside of Mac, and really Mac not being the pass rush presence that he was last year is one of the reasons it wasn't the same. But I still think our secondary did a really good job, although we weren't as I don't think we weren't as opportunistic is the word I'll use. I don't think we weren't as opportunistic because Eddie Jackson just got to do a lot more than what he did last year, and I don't think that ended up helping us. And of course, we weren't as sound against the run without Amos, and then losing Akeem Hicks. But even before Akeem Hicks, we just really showed our interior run game was a little bit of an issue at times. But overall, we still stopped the ball. We still got punts, even though we weren't getting takeaways. I think we were doing a decent job. I think a lot of people that came in to play spot duty showed real good stripes. And I feel like we did a pretty good job to win games. We weren't winning games for the team, but we definitely were putting ourselves in positions where we could have won games if the offense held their part up. So nothing spectacular, but also we weren't crap at it at all, I would say. So as far as the MVP is tough, especially with defense. It usually is a team effort through and through. So it'd be hard to name one person, and I tend to lean towards the secondary as a whole. But I'm gonna give it to Kyle Fuller. I still believe, as much as people try to talk trash, I still believe our secondary is the glue that held everything together. And I do believe that. I do believe our linebackers elevated, but seeing us play without Roquan and without Trevathan showed me that, there's still a lot of fire in that secondary. And even though we weren't taking the ball away, just our ability to match up and match routes and play sound, for the most part, we play sound. We don't give up big things. It allows that slow pass rush to finally get home whenever it does get home. And it allows us to rally up to the ball and not give up a bunch of yards after the catch. And so even though we weren't, again, dominant or elite by any stretch, I believe for the most part we were good. And Kyle Fuller does that. I mean, you could kind of say Prince is one of the reasons that side of the field also, or, Kyle Fuller's side of the field is tightened up, is because they're really focusing on Prince's side. But I also believe that Kyle Fuller, when you've tested him, anything but vertical, if you test him, he's shown you don't want to throw his way. Even though he didn't catch those interceptions, look, he had his hands on probably about 6 or 7 picks. And so I think he really showed that he's not shut down. People like shut down, not shut down in that sense. But he's much like Richard Sherman, where he plays his side of the field, he plays his type of zone, and you rarely want to go to that side. And that allows us to do, more flexible things. And I just feel like Kyle Fuller is one of the glues, because imagine everybody's like, Prince this, Prince that, Prince that. Guess what? If we had anybody else on the other side that wasn't Kyle Fuller, then we will have a real problem, because they be hitting bombs on both sides, and the safeties would be stretched a lot more than they were. So schematically, I'm going to have to say Kyle Fuller is kind of the unsung hero. Maybe that's a better term than MVP, but I think he's an unsung hero. So, all right, so that is what that is for that. Now, let's talk about going into the offseason. As I mentioned, on the post that I won't do a whole bunch of stuff until I hear what Ryan Pace has to say, what Matt Nagy has to say, and if we make any changes on Black Monday, that'll help me formulate an opinion. But today is speculation day, as we like to do. So I'm going to speculate a little bit about what might happen. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about what I would personally do if it was up to me. Even though I've kind of talked about that. I don't know how much I'm going to reiterate myself, but probably. Now, what I will start with is let's go through the starters real quick and just kind of talk about let's say who's on the fence, let's say who's a must keep, and let's say who's a must go. All right, so let's start with offense, as we love to do. Let's go through real quick. O-line. Let's start the first right off the bat. Charles Leno. Look, I mentioned, I show you the tape. Look, again, consistency. And we don't pull certain parts to, make a complete argument. So if you showed me the last 4 or 3 games of Charles Leno, I said, and I agree, some of the just terrible play. Now, does that retroactively change what I said earlier in the season? Absolutely not, because I watched that tape. And he was what he's always been. Not great, but not absolutely terrible. Now, in the last, like I said, recent weeks, he's been absolutely terrible. So that is what it is. And that's what I expect from a guy that's a borderline C+, B- player. He's going to be good at times. He's going to be bad at times. The only thing that stops it is the contract. Nobody's really going to want that contract. And so as far as eating up that salary, look, he's still athletic. Honestly, I've seen physically what he's able to do. And so it would lead me to believe his poor play is something mentally or something else. And so I think he's on the fence because he's got money. He's had ability to play. I still believe you put him on the right side, then you could salvage what he's got. If not, he's a backup swing tackle. So he's on the fence for me. But because of the contract, I can't just let him go. James Daniels, he's on the fence. Honestly, even as a high round pick, even after these first 2 years and some good things, I have too many questions. If I would not hesitate to put somebody in there to compete with him. So he's on the fence. Cody Whitehair. Cody Whitehair is a must keep, I'll say. I still don't think he plays center, but he's pretty good. He can't block everybody for everybody, though. And he has his issues, but I just don't think he's a center. But I think at guard, he could really be one of the top guards in the league. So must keep. Coward, anybody at the right guard Coward is a must go. Everybody else is on the fence. Massey is a must go. He has money too. I'll take it back. I'm on the fence because as I talked about before, if you could get a quality left tackle, and I'm hearing there's a lot of good tackles in this draft, so we'll see. But if you could get a quality left tackle and move Leno to right tackle and Massey to guard, I think Massey would be a much better guard. And so I would say on the fence because he has money as well, I believe. I don't know everybody's contract situation, so don't shoot the messenger. You could definitely correct me in the comments. But if he's got money on the books, then I say on the fence. I don't really need to eat that money if I don't have to. So Mitch Trubisky, our QB, on the fence, of course. Actually, I take it back. Trubisky's a must go. Trubisky is a must go for me. As I've said earlier, you could go back. I made my final declaration on Trubisky and Matt Nagy, and that's how it felt, and that's how it's played out, and that's where I'm at. You could ride the wave for a year, don't pick up his option, then let him walk, but honestly, he should not be the starting quarterback next year. I just think going into the future, he needs a change of scenery. So that's what that is. David Montgomery must keep. I think he's got a lot of talent, a lot of growing to do, but needs better help as well. Tariq Cohen on the fence. There's no player more on the fence than Tariq Cohen. Oh my God. I don't even want to talk about it. It's going to get me upset. Allen Robinson is a must keep. Taylor Gabriel on the fence. Anthony Miller, must keep. He gets hurt. I like him. I still think he's a good receiver. He gets hurt a little bit. But the value that we gave up to get him, and I love A-Bomb, but he's not like a must keep. But he's a must keep, but he's not like an elite receiver. But I think you got to keep him, and I think he has a lot. Who are the third receiver? Cordell Patterson. I don't remember how long we signed him for. But for me, he's on the fence. I mean, he's a really good special teamer. Returner's pretty decent. I like him as a gadget player, but I don't feel like we need to have him. It'd be nice to have him. I'll put it that way. And then all the young guys, they're on the fence, but probably going to keep them because, it was their first year. So tight ends, everybody's favorite conversation. Trey Burton on the fence for me as well, especially if there's something more going on behind off the field and behind the scenes. Definitely on the fence. Shaheem, I don't know if I don't think he has an option, but he came in the same year as Trubisky, so I believe he has another year. He's on the fence for me. I don't think he has to go. I already know people gonna argue about that. That's cool. I don't care. He's on the fence for me. If you find other suitable replacements, then cool. But honestly, our whole tight end crop, I outside of Burden, I don't really care about talent wise. Like they're all just okay. So that's how I feel. Defensively, Bilal Nichols on the fence, going into his third year. Again, wouldn't mind bringing in some challenge, some competition. He definitely isn't an elite guy. He's a rotational guy. Eddie Goldman must keep because he's got a lot of money. And I think he's a really, really good player. I don't think he's great, but he's got a lot of money. Akeem Hicks must keep as long as he's healthy and, still going. He's great. Leonard Floyd on the fence. I don't think he's a must go. He's not completely waste of space. But definitely I wouldn't mind if he left. Khalil Mack. Let me break y'all hearts. On the fence. Not that he's not good. I know he's good. I know he can play. I want to know, and I'm not going to know, but as a coach or GM or owner, I want to know what was going on with him this year. And I'm sure they already know, or if they don't, they can find out. But I want to know. I want to look him in his eye and say, dude, why are you not bringing it every snap? I don't want to hear this triple team. And it's a false narrative. The film is there. He has many one-on-one times he lost. Many times people left tight ends on him. Sometimes he's made him pay. Sometimes he didn't. But I don't want to hear that false narrative. And yes, he's got forced fumbles because when he gets there, he does work. We know he can do work. I'm not on the fence because he can't do work. I'm on the fence because why wasn't he doing work all the time? For the amount we gave up and the amount we paid you, you need to be on it all the time. And there's some guys, and if you watch my All-Pro series and non-All-Pros, there's some guys that just with pure effort are game wreckers just because they're always on it. Their motor is always hot. And Khalil used to be one of those guys, and he wasn't this year, and I want to know why. And honestly, he's very valuable still, and so the only way he leaves the team is if we get a great haul back. So I'm not mad at getting resources, so he's definitely on the fence for me. That would be more of a move where we're like in rebuild mode, but if that's where we're going, then I don't care. I'm fine with it. So on the fence for me. Kyle Fuller must keep. Eddie Jackson must keep. Clint Dix is on the fence. Prince must go. Love him, but must go. Buster Screen must keep. I see some people talking trash. He gets burnt all the time. I don't know what film y'all watching, because I guarantee you, the handful of times he's got burnt is nothing compared to the dozens and dozens of times where he played coverage man to man in a tough position and did his job. So to me, he's a must keep. He's a must keep. Even though we got Duke Shelley and I like to see what he's got, I would say it's a must keep for Buster. Roquan is a must keep. And then Trevathan. This is where the real questions come in. Trevathan and Kwiatkowski. Kwiatkowski, to me, is on the fence. Because he's still a coverage liability. Yes, he's a lot better in coverage than I expected. But trust me, when you start getting teams that really stretch the field, especially horizontally, he's going to show up as a liability. And he doesn't add what Trevathan does in that range. And he's going to probably want a lot of money. Trevathan, older, if he still got his steps under him, but he also wants a lot of money, that becomes the issue too. The way we're built now, Trevathan is a must keep. Because, as I mentioned earlier, what we add when we have two linebackers that can really be pluses in coverage absolutely mask some of the issues we have otherwise. If we don't have those guys being pluses in coverage, then the pass rush can really get exposed. And unless we're going to be blitzing that other linebacker a lot, which we could do. It just depends on our philosophy. Again, the way we're built now, philosophy and roster-wise, he's a must-keep. But if we are looking for changes, I probably say he's on the fence. It just depends on what else we're going to put around them, and especially if we're going to bring Kwiatkowski back. And I hope we bring Pierre Lewis back. I think he's a must-keep as far as a special teamer, and I really like to see them blitz him more. A lot of the rotational guys, Aaron Lynch is a must-go. He can go. Everybody else is on the fence to me. I guess Nick Williams might be more of a must-keep. We never had a really good second nose outside of Eddie Goldman, so maybe Nick Williams is more of a must-keep, but everybody else is on the fence to me. Aaron Lynch can go. So that's where I'm at as far as our roster. Now, real quick, let's talk about the coaching staff. So I've seen some people having some conversations that really made me raise my eye. And I know not everybody's deep in the football beyond the surface, and especially when you're talking about the way coaching works, because a lot of people might not have experienced that. So I saw some people saying, like, fire Mark Helfrich. I believe that's how you say it. I always mess his name up. And then other people were firing back like, he doesn't call the plays, though. And so I just like, do you think all the offensive coordinator does is call the plays? Do you think since he didn't call the plays that means he has nothing to do with the offense? And so that made me laugh. Then I seen people, somebody's going in the post was saying fire the O-line coach because Nagy doesn't make blocking schemes or something. I'm just like, wait, what? It's like, is there blocking schemes and assignments in his playbook? Yes, there are. Yeah, that's what a playbook is. The playbook has the blocking schemes. Matt Nagy doesn't make up pass plays and nothing else. Matt Nagy doesn't say, hey, I want to run left and you make the blocking schemes. These people, offense coordinator and otherwise, they all put together the plays. They know how to draw blocking schemes as well. You don't have to be an O-line coach to know how to draw up a blocking scheme or to know what blocking scheme you want. So, yes, his playbook does have blocking schemes. And so it's not the offensive line coach that is calling blocking schemes or that is calling assignments. He's teaching them. Position coaches teach what the coordinator and the head coach want to be taught. That's their job. Now, is there a debate about the position coach or for our offensive line particularly? Is it a debate that these guys aren't performing and executing what you want, so you're not teaching them correctly? There might be a case. But if you're going to sit there and say, Charles Leno sucks at pass protection, or Massey sucks at pass protection, or we're not good pulling to the right, whatever, are you going to say, well, that's the O-line coach's fault? No. Every coach should be fired, because they're not just going to make a sucky player great. If the player sucks at something, they suck at something. They could get them to be as best as they can, but a position coach isn't a miracle worker. And you see what happens when you take position coach Freddie Kitchens and just pop them all the way up because you think they did a good job, and you see what you get. So I think there's changes to be made, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But I just think it's funny, just the coaching staff in a way. I've seen people saying Pagano needs to get fired. Pagano turned our defense into block. What? Are you serious? What did Pagano do to turn our defense to anything? Because you saw better stats last year, you think Pagano all of a sudden made our players bad? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And this is where you get fans just looking for things to support their argument and completely contradicting themselves. Because they'll sit here and tell me Eddie Jackson's the greatest. Eddie does this. And Khalil Mack is the greatest. He does this. But then when things go wrong, well, it's the coach's fault. Obviously, he has so much power that he made us suck. Okay, whatever. So I just find that conversation funny. Look, here's what I would do. And I ain't really think this out a whole bunch. But because I kind of already said what I would do. It depends on what the goal is. So if I'm in the decision-making seat and I'm looking at my team, I'm looking at the teams around us, I do think we are close. Obviously, we show how good we can be when the chips fall our way last year. I think we are close. And since we are close, I believe that I need to take advantage of the talent on my roster. And if that is my course of action, then I'm getting rid of Nagy. I'm cleaning house. I'm bringing in a coach with a staff and a background that is experienced, and I'm bringing in somebody that I know can have my team prepared, and that's actually going to instill some winning in us. And this is not me like looking in the tea leaves. This is hypothetical. Because if I was actually the person, then I would know who'd be out there. But as of right now, I don't know who's going to be out there. So I'm just saying. But if I didn't feel that there was anybody, then I obviously wouldn't blow the team up. But that would be my first option. I would want to blow up the coaching staff and bring something else in. And I would want to spend some resources on getting a quarterback that can be a bridge. And there'll be a number of options coming up, but I want to bring in a bridge quarterback, and I want to build this where we can run the ball and we can let our defense give us short fields, and we're going to lean on them just like we were last year for the most part. And I'm going to get more to what we looked like last year, and I'm going to become more disciplined. So yes, the O-line coach, the OC, all of them, I'm fine with them leaving. I'm fine with everybody on defense leaving. I would bring in a staff that could kind of right the ship. And then I'm looking to bring in somebody that can, as most of us said, you most likely take over, but at the worst compete with Trubisky for next year. But that's not who I want to be with long term. So that's just me. Now, what do I think is going to happen? I think what you're going to get is a bunch of fan-pleasing moves because they know fans don't know any better. Not all fans, but some fans. And so what they're going to do is they're going to scapegoat. They're going to fire the O-line coach. Oh, Harry Houston, he made our O-line so terrible, even though he put out all these all-pro linemen and first-round picks from Notre Dame. But he made our O-line so terrible. They probably going to fire the quarterback coach. And maybe even the OC. Oh my God, they did such a terrible job. They made Trubisky so bad. And then on defense, I think Pagano comes back. I think Nagy comes back. The difference is I don't think they're going to let Nagy pick his position coaches. I think Ryan Pace is definitely going to be on mode of if the ship's going down, it's going down my way. And I think he's going to tell Nagy who his coaches are, and that's a recipe for disaster. But they're going to make those changes, minimal changes. They're definitely going to let Trubisky come back next year. They're going to tell him. I don't think they pick up his. They probably pick up his option. I don't see why you wouldn't, because that gives you the leverage. I think they pick up his option, but they're going to be like, this is a prove-it year for Trubisky, and they probably bring in somebody. I don't think they're going to put resources into getting because the market is inflated. So like Bridgewater, don't think he's that great, but he's going to get a lot of money. Tannehill looked really good, but he's going to get more money than he deserves. All these other things, or whoever is getting money, they're going to get more money than they should. I don't think the Bears are going to do that. I think the Bears are going to try to get like a second tier and claim they're going to compete with Trubisky. They're going to give Trubisky easy comp so he can win. And then they're pretty much going to just scapegoat Matt Nagy. They're going to let us go down with the ship, or they're going to let the ship go down next year and then try to fire Nagy, if not fire Pace as well. That's kind of what I think will happen. But that's just off the top of my head. We'll see again once we hear the press conferences tomorrow and see what's what. But that's where I'm at right now. So, all right. It was a long season. But if you listened so far, I am going to start the draft stuff tonight. Draft season is upon us. I'm very excited. And again, I do the NFL draft. I don't do Bears NFL draft. I do the NFL draft. So it'll be NFL draft, period. So if you're interested in learning about the prospects and who's coming out, definitely stick around this offseason and check out the content. If you listened this far, then put Ryan Pace for president in your comments. All right, so that's it for me. Share it around, get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and remember, stay up and bear down.